So in this episode, we show you what you're missing when you service your vehicle.
If you're like myself and Morgan, when you hear of servicing, you're thinking of your general stuff, your oil filters, all kinds of filters around your car, spark plugs, transmission fluid, gearbox fluid, brakes if you're a bit keen, all sorts. But what you're probably not thinking is intake cleaning, and that was certainly the case for myself and for Morgan. So today we're going to try out an intake cleaner and see if it is as effective as it claims to be. So today we have this. It's 3Bon's Super Engine Conditioner. And the basic idea here is that we're trying to get rid of all the carbon buildup inside the engine's intake manifold and throttle body. So over time, your engine, through its combustion cycles, does create a bit of carbon in the engine. That's why the inside of your exhaust is normally all black with the sooty-like substance. That's carbon. And then that can build up inside your intake manifold, depending on the designs. Normally, the injectors, when they squirt petrol into the intake manifold, does most of the cleaning. But over time, you do get a build-up, especially on Subarus. And now, if you look online at the intake cleaners, you will find many forums about Subaru using this stuff, the manufacturer themselves, in the servicing of their vehicles. And it's one thing that's gone under the radar when it comes to servicing vehicles, especially Subaru. So today we found a mate with a Subaru, which is on its third engine. But we thought we'd give this a go and see if there was any noticeable difference. Now obviously the best way to test this would be using a dyno. Unfortunately, we don't have a dyno. So we've come up with a few tests to test its claims. The claims are that it will improve the fuel economy, it will make the idle a lot smoother, and there is a power increase, apparently. So we're gonna test these today, run some baseline tests, do the clean, a full service. Because we are washing carbon out, we don't want to contaminate the oil. So we're just gonna do a full service and make sure we're not gonna cause any harm to Zane's third engine, because we don't want to put a fourth in. So yeah, let's see if this stuff works. So I was an idiot and you can't hear me talk because I didn't press record on the microphone. But what I'm basically saying is that one of the claims of the intake cleaner is that it does boost the fuel economy of your vehicle, helps you get more range just by running more efficiently. So the test that we're going to do is we're going to fill the car up to the brim, then drive it some 15 kilometers to the next gas station. We'll then fill it up again, see how much fuel it used. We'll then do the intake clean and service and then come back and see if it changes the fuel economy. All right, moment of truth. Probably should have done this before grabbing the nozzle, but. All right, let's have a look. $1.67 liters.
So for the second test, we're going to get a baseline of the performance of Zane's car. So to do this, we're going to go pretty much third gear and floor it all the way to 100 kilometers an hour. We're going to start the timer at 40 kilometers an hour. So pretty much we're timing it from 40 kilometers an hour to 100 kilometers an hour, full throttle. There's no changing gears, there's no launching, so it's eliminating all human error, I guess. So yeah, we're going to test that, see what the time is, and get the averages because we'll do 3 runs. And then also we'll then bring the car back, do the whole intake cleaner, service and all that, and then take it out, repeat the test and see if it gets any better.
Alright, so we've just finished running our baseline tests of the mighty Impreza here. So the engine's already warm, which is step number one, is to warm the engine up to operating temperature. So check, that's all good. Next step is to find an easy accessible vacuum line coming from the intake manifold. And we just squirt a bunch of this in there for, I believe it's 5 seconds, 15 seconds. Yeah, we'll go from there. Now we've sprayed the super engine conditioner into a vacuum line on the intake manifold. We're just going to let it sit there for 5 minutes, let it kind of soak its way through, and then we move on to the next step. So we've just finished step 5, which for you is probably just step 2, which is running the car and emptying the remainder of the can's contents through the throttle body into the intake manifold. Surprisingly, a lot of fluid in that can. So now that we've done that, we're going to let it sit for another 5 minutes. And once that's done, we'll start it back up and see how clean Zane's mighty Impreza actually is. But in the meantime, we're going to put back together the car. So we've let the car sit for 5 minutes. We've also reattached the airbox and the vacuum lines. So the liquid's had enough time to sit and eat its way through the intake manifold. So now all we need to do is start the car up and run it through for 2 minutes. So then. So that's the end of the instructions for the intake cleaning product itself. Now, it doesn't tell you to do this, but just from our point of view, we're thinking because the engine's removing all this grime, it's got to get out somewhere. And it'll be going through the exhaust, but also into the cylinders themselves, as well as in the oil, coating the spark plugs, that kind of thing. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do a basic service. We're going to change the oil filter. So we'll quickly do a service and then we'll see if we've got any actual data to prove that it did actually do something in the engine. So we're back again, same servo, time to fill it up and see if it does any better. So lucky us that when we decided to do this challenge is when petrol prices jumped up 50 cents. So instead of paying $1.40, we're now paying $1.92. All right, moment of truth. We're a litre over. Yeah. Roadworks. So what did we find out today? Well, in the first test, we were attempting to test the fuel economy. On our first run, we got pretty good data. There was a little bit of traffic, so there may have been some slipstreaming going on, but we achieved a figure of 1.67 litres for the 15-kilometre journey. We then took the car straight back home, did the intake clean, the service, shot right back out there, filled it up again from the brim using the same bowser at the same petrol station, and set off on our journey. And it wasn't until right before the exit that we're about to take, we had roadworks, which completely killed any result of matching up the two bits of data. So unfortunately, the fuel economy side of the test is inconclusive until we can run another test and get Zane and his mighty little Impreza out there again, which is unfortunate. Our belief speculation is that it did have a little bit of an impact. I wouldn't be surprised if it did help. But the exciting, I guess, results came in the second test. So the second test, we had 40 kilometers an hour to 100 kilometers an hour. Now, when we got the product and we were thinking of ideas and ways of doing the videos, I'm not gonna lie, I did think it was a little bit of a snake oil thing. I thought that the results of the test would show that there wasn't any improvement, but boy, was I wrong. So I've got the times here. Now, our best average time on our base run before we did the intake clean was 11.12 seconds from 40 kilometers an hour to 100 kilometers an hour. And the best time overall for that base was 11.08 seconds. Now afterwards, after we did the clean, after we did the service, the best average time was 11.01 seconds, which is already an improvement of 0.11 seconds. So it's already 0.1 of a second. Now you're probably thinking, 0.1 of a second, you're not going to feel that. It's minuscule. But this car only has a very small amount of power. It's only 100 horsepower, so this little Subaru. If you extrapolate that to, say, a Lamborghini that has 500 horsepower, now that's a lot of time we're talking about for cleaned up intake manifolds. But the most surprising thing is that the best time overall was a 10.88, which is 0.2 of a second faster than the fastest time from our base run, which is phenomenal. 0.2 of a second is quite a lot of time, especially if you're at the drag strip. 0.2 of a second is an eternity. So really amazing findings. The product did do what it says it was going to do. It made a car more efficient, it accelerated quicker, and yeah, it worked. Now, I know what you're going to say is, oh, well, when you did the first run, it was light, and then you did the second run, it was dark, so the temperature would have changed. If you actually look at the videos, the Subaru does have a temperature indicator down the bottom left, and the change in temperature was 1 degree, and the last run of the last test was where it changed. So 5 out of the 6 tests were using the same temperature, and the run that had the lower temperature by 1 degree was actually the slowest of that lot. So it isn't temperature related. The engine wasn't heat soaked or anything like that. We only did 3 runs. So it is an actual gain, an actual improvement that we were able to measure. It does do what it says on the tin. Now, the other component and form of testing is how your car feels, how your car drives. Now, we had obviously Zane's car. He knows exactly what the car is like and how it feels. And I'll throw it to Morgan. How did it go?
Yeah, so it's so I actually sat in on the tests for the 40 to 100 on the before and after, just to feel any difference in terms of speed and I would say performance gains. I couldn't feel too much. I put it to Zane, he agreed. Although where we did find a difference was the sound of the car and just how healthy it sounded. Beforehand, it felt questionable. Afterwards, it was a bit rough, and yeah, definitely, and a little bit. Sorry, Zane. But yeah, after we did it though, it definitely felt and sounded like it was running a lot better. And for me, I don't know the car, I could definitely here and yeah, definitely feel the difference in that aspect. And Zane totally agreed as well.
Yeah, as soon as, so with the test as well, one of the steps was that you did go take it for a drive around before you do any kind of commuting or anything like that. And yeah, when Zane and Morgan came back, he just leapt out of the car and goes, "Oh, it's so much better," which was his instant reaction. So we've got the data to prove that when it comes to performance-wise, it is more efficient. We got to 100 kilometers an hour faster. The owner of the vehicle believes that the car felt a lot healthier. Obviously, Morgan doesn't know the car that well and could notice a difference between before and after the clean. So would we recommend it? Hell yes. Hell yes. We made up time, the engine's running healthier, feels a lot better. It's a win-win. And I'm sure if we were to rerun the fuel efficiency tests, that it would come back as well. It kind of goes with logic that it would also improve there. So I would highly recommend using the intake cleaner. It does say on the can about every 15,000 kilometers to do an intake clean. Obviously, carbon buildup isn't as frequent as, say, what you'd need to do with an oil change or something like that. So really good product. Really happy that we did the test and found out that it is actually worthwhile. But if you wanted to see more product reviews, comparisons, that kind of thing, hit that like button, comment below and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next Project B video.